I think this will go down pretty quick.
All right, it's 5 o'clock. You guys ready? All right. Dan, are you ready? Okay, here we go. So it is 5 o'clock. I will call the regular meeting of the village board. Today is Monday, September 9th, 5 p.m. Roll call, please.
Bollig,
Here.
Jacobson,
Here.
Glish,
Here?
Horton,
Here.
Peterson. Here. Carpenter.
Here. Thank you. All right, so our first item is a public appearance. We have a discussion with Boy Scout Nathan Grooms with the Eagle Scout project at the cemetery. Is Nathan here?
Yeah, Nathan's here.
Ah, there he is. I see him.
So I'll introduce Nathan.
All right.
Nathan Grooms is a candidate for Eagle Scout. He contacted me a while back, and we've kind of been working together on establishing a project and a project plan. He's here tonight to just present it to you, let you know a little bit about it, if you have any questions. And then hopefully maybe just some encouragement and support from the board as he moves forward with implementing his project.
Yeah, please
So,
sit.
yeah, go ahead and have a
Yeah.
seat.
So Nathan, if you just want to state your name and your address for the clerk.
Nathaniel Grooms, Nathan Grooms, and my address is 617 Prairie Grass Road.
All right, and then tell us about your project.
So the first step is we're making a map of all the graves that are listed in the VFW's list of veterans, and then we're establishing the condition of the markers on those graves in the cemetery, and the ones that are damaged or missing, we're going to replace and repair, and there will be a map at the end of it that I've started making, but I'm going to have finished it obviously. And then they could use that in the future to find them more easily and keep up the maintenance that we do, hopefully.
Wow, very nice.
Yeah, it's always been kind of we have a very good list, but it's just a list that's been entered over time, and it's not really in any kind of major map format or anything like that. So we think it would be helpful to us and the VFW to be able to look at a map and identify where those locations are. And then like Nathan and his father have gone up there and looked at it, as well as some of the markers are in disrepair, have been bent over, they get hit by mowers.
Yeah, I was out there this past weekend, kind of starting to mark the condition of what's on the list, and there's some that are really good actually, and then there's some that are like faded, and some of them are the flags are broken, or they're bent or warped, or some of them they've been like knocked over, or the little iron pole that sticks into the ground is broken off, and the marker's just kind of laying there. And then some of them just aren't marked at all. So I'm hoping to get as many of those fixed up as I can, and then they'll have a map so that the rest of them can be dealt with, I guess. Or
Yeah, Randy.
Nathan, do you have a time frame when you want to finish?
yes, I'd like to keep working on it through September, and then it would culminate in a work day or two in October. And we don't have final dates for that yet, but
Okay.
working on that.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
I think this sounds like a really great project. I like seeing youth interested in the cemetery and the history of Oregon, so thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I had a question. I'm wondering, were you just going to map out the locations of veterans' graves, or like the whole cemetery? Like every-
Well, there's a map of the cemetery, but the plots are the only thing that's really named. There's no like individual headstones. So I'm gonna find the veterans on the list and then find the location in the actual cemetery and then mark that, so that then they can just go through and put the little marker in when they need to.
Okay, but, and, I mean, I don't know if we need it, but I would think that maybe if you were looking to expand a project, we could probably use it for the whole cemetery then, wouldn't
Well,
we? Or,
I'm
I
not
mean,
sure I'm understanding your
is it-
question.
so I guess, like, do we have like a map of all of where, you said the families?
We know where everybody is, yes.
You do,
Yes. Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
so
We-
it's just
we
a matter
got
of
it. Yes.
identifying the
Yes.
veterans specifically?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, we
got
have very
it, got it.
detailed records and books, and we've been in the process of actually creating an electronic database that is an actual, just like I show on the map when we can pull up different things. I have a system like that. We're trying to implement that and get that active. But one of the things that we have not had is just a good reference to the veterans. And then my observations have been that they needed some care. And I think part of it also is if possibly like we've done in the past with cleaning gravestones, some of them might need some cleaning, and so.
Yes.
There'll probably be an investment that we'll request in the future, well, from the village board, for a small amount of money to either buy some replacement posts or some cleaning solution or something like that. So if you were be supportive of that.
And the idea would be that even if we don't repair all of them or repair a huge number of them, the condition is at least noted on the map so that you have an idea of what's going to be required in the future and it's kind of out there. And then that's a starting point for if you want to keep it updated in the future. And obviously, I probably wouldn't be working on that, but the map would be there and you could find them again and keep it up, I guess.
Good. Excellent. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your service. We really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Thanks for working with us.
You'll be back after your project or?
Oh, yes,
To
yes.
provide a presentation to the
Yeah,
board
yeah,
at that
bring
time
pictures.
Yes.
and everything, so.
Yes.
Great. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Nate.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Yeah.
All right, so next agenda item is 3B. We have a discussion with Village Attorney Laura Collin, yeah, there she's Laura, and possible board direction regarding water impact fee analysis and sewer connection fee analysis. We have some notes from our village administrator. Staff is recommending the board direct the village attorney to prepare the necessary ordinance to adjust the water impact fee. However, at this time, staff is recommending the board not adjust the sewer connection fee until the board reviews the wastewater treatment plant's facility plan with Director of Public Works Jeff Rao. So Laura, thanks for being here.
Thank you. So I thought I'd start with the sewer connection fee and provide some background, just so the village knows where it stands with the sewer connection fee and where it might be going. The connection fee is a one-time charge paid by a new customer upon issuance of a building permit. The current fee is $2,500 for a single-family home connection, and then the fee schedule increases with the increase in the size of the water meter on the theory that more water means more wastewater to be treated. The current fee was put in place in 2010 and designed to recoup about $2.5 million of the cost of the wastewater treatment facility. Since 2010, the village has collected about $1.1 million in sewer connection fees, so about 45% of the cost for which the fee was imposed. The current fee has not changed since 2010. And significantly, the sewer connection fee is a service fee as opposed to an impact fee. So it's a little it's a little less regulated and therefore a little easier to administer and adjust. So at Mike's direction, and this kind of occurred in the same context of looking at the village's park impact fee and the library impact fee, we took a look at the connection fee and made two determinations. First, the fee is legally defensible. The methodology that was used in 2010 to set the fee remains widely accepted. Another conclusion was that the village would be justified in increasing the fee just on the basis of inflation alone. That was the recommendation made by your consultant in 2010, and the village could certainly justify an increase up to about $4,100 from the $2,500 level. We understand that the village is about to undertake a study and planning process, and for planning purposes or policy purposes, the village may want to defer adjusting that water or that sewer connection fee until it has a clearer picture on the future wastewater treatment needs of the village. And by that I mean whether or not the village is going to connect to MMSD or what the village intends to do with the remaining capacity in the treatment facility and how it's going to meet the demands placed on the treatment facility by new development. So that is an overview of where the village stands on the connection fee currently and in the future. So let me stop there and ask if there are any questions. No? Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
All right. The water impact fee. So again, background. It's like the connection fee. It's a one-time charge paid by a new customer upon the issuance of a building permit. The current fee is $1,800 for a single-family home. And again, the fee increases as the water meter size increases. The impact fee was designed in 2004 to recoup approximately $2.2 million, representing the cost of the Lincoln Road elevated tower, which was completed in 2004, and an additional well, what's known as Well 6, which has not yet been constructed. Since 2004, the village has collected about $1.8 million in water impact fees, or about 81% of the costs for which the fee was imposed. The fee has not changed since 2004. The water impact fee, as the name suggests, is an impact fee and is subject to a significant amount of regulation by the Wisconsin legislature, as you'll recall from the process by which the village adopted a new park impact fee. Again, we reviewed the impact fee and made a couple of determinations. First, again, like the sewer connection fee, the water impact fee is legally defensible, and in fact, the village has begun to incur expenses associated with Well 6 and has recouped basically all the cost of the Lincoln Road tower. So it's been very successful for the village as a tool to recoup costs of capital investment. Another conclusion was that the village, again, could legally justify an interim or temporary increase in the existing water impact fee to merely adjust for inflation, as was recommended back in 2004. In addition, the village is certainly going to be in a position to think about planning for a new water impact fee to replace the existing one as it commits to some needed water storage and supply infrastructure projects. The village commissioned a study in 2017 to study its water needs, and that study recommended, among other things, a new elevated tower, of course, well number 6, and a booster station. We ran a hypothetical needs assessment and impact fee calculation, and believe that a new impact fee would be actually the same or a little bit lower than the existing fee, and again, particularly designed to recoup the costs of the well, the booster station, and a new tower. So these fees remain very effective tools for the village, and we think the village is going to need some planning once it has some clarity on these capital projects in front of it.
Jeff, do you want to talk at all? I'm assuming yes.
So I want to talk, well, no, we've gone through this and we've met with Laura and, reviewed kind of with the recommendations, and I do support Mike's recommendation for both of these. One of the things that you know, one thing, especially in the water, you know, the Lincoln Road Tower is fully up, operational, paid for, and that's been very successful. We are moving ahead with well 6 construction, which we anticipate in the next year. And so, you know, those type of things, those are kind of our big water projects right now. There's kind of a big unknown in dealing with if we decide to push across 14 in the one Highway 138 area. That could and would trigger a significant infrastructure improvement, possibly another tower or anything that would be over there. And at that time, we would want to look at more of a regional facilities plan for that type of improvement and likely adjusting our impact fee, possibly just for regionally for over there. But for now, I think this is a good move for us.
Questions or comments? Jerry?
Yes, why are we waiting to adjust the sewer connection fee?
Why are we waiting?
Yeah.
Because I think rather than adjusting them and then probably adjusting them again in a couple of years, I wanted Jeff to come forward with the facility plan for the plan first. And plus, to take it up to that level of $4,000, it raises the same concern that Lisa and I had when we were talking about the park improvement fee, that, you know, I think there's that sweet spot where you shouldn't cross over, where it could actually start hurting your development in the village. So I'm just reluctant at this point to raise it up that much, Jerry.
So it'll be a couple of years before we look at that again.
A year to 2 years
Yeah.
at a minimum. I mean, right now, we're in the process of finishing a 2-year facility plan for the wastewater treatment plant and treatment system. That really is looking at a lot of things, including the health of our plant, the longevity of the plant, any kind of major infrastructure improvements that we have to make at the plant, and then our long-term plan, whether it would be a major plant expansion to be able to handle increased flows in the future, or possibly connecting to the Madison Met system. And both of those require some additional planning before we'd feel comfortable even changing the impact fee at this point.
Okay.
And Jerry, I think there's always that balance of how much do you charge the current users for the system versus future. And I think until we have the facility plan in place, I just feel comfortable just leaving it the way it is. We have one of the higher sewer connection fees in the county, I know that, so.
Now, in relation to the sewer connection fee, is that, have we got our infrastructure where we want it right now in the older part of town?
No, that's part of what we're working towards.
Okay, so your plan's gonna come forward with upgrades to the existing sewers also?
Correct. I mean, the facility plan is really focused on the wastewater treatment plant.
Plant.
There are other areas of the village, the older parts of town that we are, those are part of our capital plan projects for those roads.
So those won't affect the sewer or this connection fee?
No.
Okay.
They could impact the sewer, the user fee.
Yep.
They're two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Cory.
I guess that, you know, our current amounts that were set in 2010, I mean, aren't we fairly confident that those, I guess, haven't gone down, you know, with inflation and costs of kind of keeping up with things? You know, I recognize that there's a sweet spot with all of this, but at the same time, I don't want to get behind on our infrastructure, which could really stifle our development in the future. You know, we need to be investing so we have, you know, a reliable, you know, suitable system for future development to be able to tap into. So I'm just, I guess I wonder, is there, you know, an incremental increase that we could have related to inflation that would make sense at this point before we get the full study completed?
It's up to the board. I'm comfortable that we're within the $5,000 to $6,000 range. I think that's where we should be for a total impact fee. And the thing that Laura notes on this chart, the very first thing of her handout, was that at some point, we're gonna have to adjust the library fee. So I'm thinking that in a couple of years, we'll have the library built. We'll be looking at a new library impact fee. The fire department fee will fall off. But they're going to go back and look at all this again. I just think we need to be sensitive that we don't price ourselves out of the development And so I will always be concerned about that, so. And I think you just, again, I think you have to weigh that, what you're charging users of the plant versus future users. I think there's a fine line there. And Laura's right, we have the ability, because it's a sewer connection fee, we have a little bit more flexibility than under the impact fee law. So, but it's a board decision, Corey. If you want to do something like that, I'm open to talking about that.
Is there anything that we can do to expedite, getting the answers more quickly? I don't like changing fees, all the time either, and I do want to remain competitive in the development environment, but I don't want to do that at the expense of, letting our infrastructure get to a place where we don't want it to be.
I think Jeff is saying we're still probably a year away for this, for the facility.
We'll be seeing the facility plan this fall. So we will know going into next year, a much better understanding on our wastewater plant needs. Our water system needs, we'll have to kind of look at what direction we proceed with our main growth, and that'll be across 138. And there's been a lot of preliminary work that's been done on stuff like that and studies that we have, but nothing that we could really base an impact fee off of right at this point that I would feel comfortable with.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't want to fall behind. No one
Yeah.
wants to do that.
I think a year is not a terrible time either to wait, so I'm
No.
satisfied just waiting until we get some more answers, I guess.
Okay.
All right, so do we want to direct our attorney to prepare the necessary ordinance to adjust the water impact fee? If so, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second, no,
Go ahead, Amanda.
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And then I'm just going to assume the board's okay with leaving the sewer.
I think
fee.
so. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much, Laura.
Thank
Very
you.
good information.
Yes, all right, thanks.
Thanks, Lou.
Thank you.
See ya.
Aye.
All right, item 3C, we have a public hearing for Terry A. Leader / Ziegelmeyer, agent for Ziggy's Barbecue Smokehouse 2 LLC, has filed an application for a Class B fermented malt beverage and a Class C wine license with the village clerk for the Village of Oregon for the property at 135 South Main Street, doing business as Ziggy's Barbecue Smokehouse and Ice Cream Parlor. This notice is given pursuant to Section 125.04, Parent 3G, WS, and Village Ordinance 1617. So I'll open the public hearing. Does the petitioner want to make any comments? Otherwise, we have your application in front of us. Yeah, if you want to come forward, go. Sure. Welcome, thanks for being here. If you
Thank
just
you.
want to tell us your names and your address so for the minutes.
Mike Ziegelmeyer, 169 South Main Street, Oregon, Wisconsin.
Thank you, thank you. All right, anything that you want to add to your application in front of us?
Just, yeah. I know there was a question on serving alcohol, which we have wine-based alcohol. That was in the application. If you guys noticed, we have like an agave wine, which is 20%, but it's distilled into like vodka, or tequila, but it does fall into the 20% category, which we are not to sell above and beyond that. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention that, if any of you had questions on that, Frank Liquor is our distributor and they wouldn't be able to sell us if, based on our license that we're applying for. So.
Okay. Do you have a comment?
I just want to make sure I understand the point you're making. So you're saying you sell a product that is considered wine?
It's a excuse me, it's a wine-based substance like our vodka. It starts out as a wine base, and then they distill it to a 20%, calling it vodka, so you can make a mixed drink. It tastes like vodka, but it's actually wine.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Product that a lot of people don't know or understand, and it was brought to us so that we didn't have to get a large assortment of liquor or apply for the liquor license.
All right. Any questions from anyone? Are there any public comments at all? I'm assuming no. Okay,
Sorry,
yes.
going in order, I'll get a chance.
Yeah, so any staff comments? think we're good. All right, village board comments, Amanda, do you have something?
Yeah, so, I am just, in the past, you probably know the board has been trying to, make sure that people who get serving licenses and establishment licenses, I don't know what the difference is exactly, but that, that they have an alcohol policy, which you included, and I read, and it looks good, and I'm wondering if you have a plan to go over that periodically with your employees. I know as new employees, you sign a lot of forms and you think, oh yeah, I read that, I agree, and then, they get kind of lax after time. I mean, do you have a plan for ongoing sort of training or reminders so they don't get dinged for underage serving, for example?
Right. Yes, we plan on holding a once-a-month meeting because, turnover on staff, making sure that the ones that are there are refreshed every month and know exactly what they're supposed to do, and training course to where we can actually show them how we would card somebody, what to look for, looking for fake IDs and whatnot. So once a month I think is more than adequate in keeping our staff well trained and refreshing their memories. Because after time you might just forget once in a while, and we don't want that. So we had one infraction, and that was more than what I promised myself that we would get. So.
And I appreciate that. I know you aren't like a habit, you're not normally dinged for that, but I just, I'm glad to hear that you have a plan in place to do that, so that's great.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? All right, then I will go ahead and close the hearing. Is there any discussion amongst the board? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion. Yeah, Jerry?
I'll move approval.
Okay. So you're moving approval to, do we need to do two motions here?
I'll do two separate.
All right, so Jerry, do you want to do the first motion under number 7 first? That would be to approve the license.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the Class B fermented malt and Class C wine license.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And then I need a motion for the second one, approving Terry A. Leader Ziegelmeyer to be the agent for Ziggy's Barbecue Smokehouse and Ice Cream Parlor.
I'll make that motion.
All right.
I'll second again.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, you're all set. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right, moving on to item 3D. We have a discussion with candidates interested in filling our board vacancy for a term expiring April 2020. We have an empty chair down there. So first, I'm supposed to be making some welcoming comments. So my welcoming comments are, well, first let me read this. So I just want to review the motion from July 8th, 2019. Bollig moved, seconded by Jacobson, to start accepting applications from interested candidates and to appoint a trustee position effective November 1st, 2019, after the budget season. So that motion carried 4-2-1 with Boudreaux abstaining. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to ask each of you folks to come forward. We'll go by alphabetical of last name. We're asking you to keep your comments to 3 to 4 minutes. Just tell us a little bit about yourselves. We do have the information that you submitted to the village in our packets, and tell us anything else that you'd like for us to know. Board members, I would say if you have specific questions for each member just in relation or a clarification to their application, to go ahead and ask that. And if you have a specific policy question that you'd like to ask them, I would suggest that you ask that same question to each candidate, just to keep it consistent. Does that make sense? All good?
And then Jeannie, the one
Yes.
person did.
Oh, yes, and then we have a memo on our desk that one of our candidates did withdraw her application. Kim Graff withdrew her application. She says that life has picked up unexpectedly, and her husband is deploying. So, yes. So thank you to Kim for applying for the position. We appreciate that, and we will not consider her application tonight. Okay, so first up, because we're going in alphabetical order, is David Donovan.
Were we going to have, I know in the past, we had the other candidates leave the room and then do
Oh.
it, like,
Yeah.
so that it was a little less, like, because if you can hear what everyone else is saying before you, you can modify your responses
Oh,
and
sure.
to make it fair, so,
I totally forgot that.
okay.
Yes, so would Ashley and Hans just like to step out?
Just outside the door so we can represent her.
Well, out in the foyer, so you can't hear.
It's totally voluntary.
Oh, yes, it's totally
Oh, it is
voluntary.
You can
Voluntary?
stay if you
Okay.
like, or you can step out.
Right,
Thank you. Thanks, Amanda, I totally forgot that we did that.
yeah, no problem.
All right, anything else that I'm forgetting? Good, all right. Okay, David, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to present myself to you. As most of you know, my name is David Donovan. My family and I have owned a home in the village of Oregon for over 12 years. And in every community that we've lived, we've always tried to give back or to enhance the community where we've lived. This desire in the past has given me the opportunity to serve on various boards, including serving as a town board member on the town of Washington, also chairing and being the chair of that same town, which is just a little bit south of Eau Claire. I've also served on the county board in Eau Claire County for several years, and I've served on this very same board just prior to a very major career promotion for me several years ago. I'm now semi-retired, and once again, I want to give back to my community, and that's the village of Oregon. We have moved back, we are here, and we live in the village. As my initial application indicated, I come before you with a broad set of skills that I believe will be valuable to the village of Oregon, including degrees in environmental and physical sciences and natural resource management. I also have over 25 years of experience in major project management and also setting utility rates. Now, utility rates on gas and electric might be a little bit different, but they have some of the very same principles that you guys face every year when you look at sewer, water, and have to go to the Public Service Commission for approval for the rate increases. I've also had the opportunity to manage energy efficiency programs and renewable energy programs at the utility level. In fact, I was the #1 contact for the renewable energy field for the utility that I worked for, which was Xcel Energy in Eau Claire. And then also I've managed a large Superfund site cleanup. That project cost more than $120 million. So I have large experience in managing major complicated projects. Now, these skills have taught me to listen to different perspectives and to ask the deeper thought-provoking questions that to consider potential for unintended consequences that often happen when we make these complex decisions that you face every day as you come here to the board. In my previous role with the village board, these technical skills and career experiences proved valuable as I helped the board consider complicated land use issues and helped lead the Oregon Fire EMS Commission through a very difficult financial situation. I say helped, and that's very important, help lead that because we needed the help and cooperation of the other members of that commission to implement the steps necessary to make sure that we worked our way through it and to get out from underneath it. Now, my background on the town board as the town board chairman helped me communicate with the town members of that commission to gain their support. Now, this experience is important. I bring it up as a very emphatic example of what I believe we have to do as we go into the future, and that is to develop and continue the cooperation that we have with our other units of government that surround us. We're going to have to work with other units of government to deal with some of the issues that face the village, that include stormwater management, land use, annexation, and development issues, continued pressure on services like the senior center, the fire protection, the new youth center, the new library, recreational open space management, and yet unknown concerns. I believe my technical skill set, my career experiences will help the village board deal with these issues and those issues yet unknown. I would appreciate the opportunity to show the value of these skills and experiences, not only to you, but to the village as a whole, and I hope you will appoint me to the open board trustee position. Thank you for this opportunity. I'll take any questions you
Yeah.
might have.
Thank you very much. Any clarifying questions or policy questions anyone wants to ask? Well, I think we're good. Thank you very much,
Thank
David.
you. Thank you. Now, do I have to leave because I'm done, or?
Yeah, do you want to go out there and then you can send in Ashley?
It's totally up to you as to,
Yeah.
It's voluntary.
It's voluntary.
yeah, and,
I'm just joking.
well, I would say that I think in the past, the person who spoke did stay in the room
Oh,
because
okay.
they were done.
Yes. So why don't you
You're
stay?
welcome to stay, yeah.
Because you're done.
Who wants to go get Ashley?
I think somebody already went out to get it.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh, okay. We don't do this every day. Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Hi, Ashley.
All right.
Thanks for being here tonight. So if you just want to maybe state your name and your address and then give us 3 to 4 minutes of information about yourself.
Okay. I'm Ashley Court. Address is 141 State Street here in town. So just about
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
okay. Me, I was born and raised here. Graduated from Oregon High School. Brought my kids back here to go to school. The district, amazing. I can't say good enough things about everything that happens and what a great childhood I had. So I would love it if my kids could definitely experience the same type of small town charm that we have here. You know, I did go away for school for a while, but there was no doubt in my mind when I decided that we were going to have kids to come back here. There was just, you know, no doubt. Let's see. Yeah, two daughters, 11 and 6. So that means I'm involved in soccer and dance and Girl Scouts. I also do some assistant coaching at the high school with the cheerleading squad. So that's been one of the fun things I've gotten to participate in lately. I am a big fan of OCA. I follow them. I somewhat feel like I know a lot of you because I've watched so many of the meetings prior. But yeah, so I guess that takes care of most of the personal. As for my experiences, I work for a company. It's a software development company called Tickets.com, and we're a subsidiary of Major League Baseball. So we do the box office software for all the Major League Baseball teams, or majority of them, excuse me. My role in that company is an analyst. They call me Senior Application Systems Business Analyst, however many other adjectives you can throw in there. But basically that just means that because I've been there, next month it will be 19 years. Because I've been there so long and seen everything, I get, somebody doesn't know what to do with something, it always comes to me. Whether I have any experience with it or not, I'm expected to find a way to resolve it or answer a question or find a definitive, this is the way it is, or this can't be done, kind of a thing. So in addition to being a huge problem solver in all kinds of areas, I do participate in some agile development, which, if anybody's familiar with the software industry, it's a way that a lot of companies are going. They can't keep up with technology as fast as it's moving. So we are, developing things every day, such as like your NFC, where you don't even have to scan your ticket. You just get close enough to a reader, and you can go right into the stadium and not really have to interact with anybody, which helps cuts lines down. So it's all good for everybody, all this technology. But what that means is that we have to make decisions quickly, and there's a lot of diverse people in the room. The company is actually across the country, so I deal with people from New York to California. And we have to agree on something in order to move forward. And what's really great is we do get opportunities once or twice a year to get together. So, some of these discussions can become heated, but, at the end of the day, we're friends, and I think that's what's probably kept me there for so long. What else do I do? I guess I'll speak to a little bit of some other background.
And Ashley, if you just want maybe like one more minute.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
So I also have a civil engineering degree, which I think will really help me at least understand the projects and, you know, what things actually are in order to make those decisions. I'll have the ability to ask pertinent questions. And then I also have, because of this background, resources and a network of people to, you know, make sure that I have correct and up-to-date answers or information that I'm sharing. So, yeah, I guess then that's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Sure.
Any yes, Randy?
So Ashley, can you
Yeah.
tell us, why do you want to serve on the village board?
Why? I'm at a point in my life where I definitely have reaped the benefits of this place, and I want to give back. You know, my kids are getting a little bit older. I get a little bit more freedom, and I really want to become involved, you know, pursue local politics, and this just seemed like a really great fit.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, very good. Thank you so much. So you can stay in the room if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so Amanda, can we talk to you to get in Hans too? Sure.
This is good, because my back was really sore today, so was not looking forward to sitting in this seat the whole time, so being able to get up
Let's
and
keep
move is
getting
good.
heavy to get people.
Yeah, it's good.
Just go to the bathroom a lot like I do.
That works too.
All right, so welcome, Hans. If you just want to state your name and where you live for the record, and then
Okay.
3 to 4 minutes about yourself and why you're interested in the position.
Okay, thank you. My name is Hans Neltner. I live at 133 West Lincoln Street here in the village. My wife and I have been residents here since 1984. I'm interested in this position primarily, I think one of the most important reasons has to do with transit. I served on the village board from 2005 through 2007. At that time, we formed a committee, the Oregon Area Public Transit Committee, in conjunction with elected and citizens members from the surrounding municipalities, Town of Dunn, Town of Rutland, Town of Oregon, Village of Brooklyn, Stoughton, a couple of townships over there, and even Janice Ringhand, now a state senator from Evansville. We formed a committee, and in cooperation with Madison Metro, we conducted an extensive survey to evaluate the potential for commuter bus service from this area, and it was excellent. There are a lot of people, unsurprisingly really, a lot of people who live in the village, commute to the campus and the downtown where it's very congested and parking is expensive. After that, I went to work on, I learned about funding mechanisms and met some Wisconsin Department of Transportation officials and learned about funding mechanisms. And one of the things that became clear is that a regional transit authority would be a good mechanism for making this happen, to help with the governance and also the funding. And so I put my shoulder to the wheel, and I think I worked as hard as anybody in the county for the passage of the Regional Transit Authority, and that was approved by Dane County residents, and I think it was 2009. Unfortunately, the new legislature and governor abolished it. I'm seeing a renewed interest in transit again. Sun Prairie just started service. Fitchburg's expanding service. The service to Epic is doing great. I went to a meeting last week or week before? Last week. One of the informational meetings about bus rapid transit, which is a system Madison is setting up to speed up transit across the isthmus. One thing is very clear to me, and you'll see this if you read my Observer article column coming out. Madison is not going to roll out a red carpet for more of us to drive there. If we're going to add residents, we have to make other plans. And so my hope is, as a trustee, I could help make this happen. I want to say this. I am Behind this is an ecological concern. I am terrified at the lack of action of the human race on curbing our greenhouse gas emissions. We have not begun to get serious. I think we're headed for disaster if we don't act and act soon. And I want to see a sense of urgency like we haven't had before it's too late. So that kind of is behind it all. And I realize it's a single issue. I know the board does a lot of other local things that are necessary, like keeping the water going and all these things. And if appointed, I would be diligent about all those things, but I do want to be clear about kind of the big picture thing that concerns me. So, any questions or concerns?
All right, thank you. Any clarifying questions from anyone? All right, well, thank you very much, Hans, appreciate it. So if I remember this correctly, how this works, actually, Matt, do you want to walk us through how this works?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Well, so the way that this typically works is that after you've heard from the candidates, there's an opportunity for nominations to be made and voted on. And that process continues until a candidate receives a majority vote. And so the process begins with you all, each of you has the opportunity to choose to nominate someone, and that, so I would open the floor for nominations and then allow that process to continue and see who is nominated, and then we can move into a voting process.
Okay, all right, so, yes, so Jerry first, then Corey.
I'll nominate David Donovan.
All right, so we have nomination for David. Do we need a second?
No.
No, okay. So we
You
have
can
a
just call for if there are any other nominations.
All right, any other nominations? I'll just ask one more time, any other nominations? All right, so now
Now you vote.
okay. So I would ask for a vote to approve appointing David Donovan to the village board effective November 1st, 2019. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Well, Ashley and Hans, this is not a vote on you. Please know that. And so there are elections for village board every April. And papers are usually due in December, right? Yeah, pull papers December 1st. So please, I would encourage you to continue to be active. We have lots of commissions and committees. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and we appreciate your interest. All right. All right, so.
Thank you.
Yes, Corey, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to thank all of the applicants that applied. I was in your same position when there was a board vacancy and I wasn't selected. After that, I did run for village board and I have gotten on here, and it's been very rewarding. It's great to be part of the community, but don't let this be the end. Let this be the beginning. Get involved with the committee, get involved with village board. Don't stop here. So you were all great candidates. It was a tough decision for us, but thank you for applying.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right, so then, David, we'll have you seated on November 1st. But, feel free to hang out and listen. And come to meetings, because that's always fun. Or like Ashley, watch them on OCA Media. Yeah. All right, well, thank you, everyone. Okay, so we've done that. We are on to item 4A. We don't have any minutes in front of us tonight. We have approval of vouchers. Okay, so we have a voucher list for September 9th, 2019. We have total for approval tonight is $282,949.81. Is there a motion to approve to get this on the floor?
I'll approve.
I'll second.
All right. Questions from folks on tonight's? Yes, Jerry.
I have a question on First American Title, amount of $10,000 for the bike trail. Can you tell me what that is?
That's the earnest money for us purchasing the easement from the Keller family, Jerry, for the trail.
What is it?
The earnest money,
Earnest money,
Yep.
okay. How much was the purchase?
100,000.
100,000, okay.
We're actually delivering that check to the title company tomorrow
Okay, and that is for the,
For the easement.
for the easement for the bike trail.
the bike trail that's already been completed? or-
We're getting the easement from the Keller family to move the bike
To
trail.
move the bike trail.
Move
Got
out
it.
of the water.
Got it,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? All right, then roll call, please.
Peterson,
Yes.
Glish,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Horton,
Yes.
Bollig,
Yes.
Carpenter.
Yes. All right, so now we are on to item 6. This is community input. So this part of the agenda allows anyone who's in the audience to come forward to provide information to us if it's not already on the agenda. So is there anyone that would like to speak to the board on the item that's not on the agenda? All right. We will go on to item 7, proclamations and announcements. Board comments. Anyone have anything tonight? All right, staff oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I do. I think, I was gonna wait until item M to say this, but if you look down at item N, you'll see M is in Mary. Diane Newland is resigning as the director of the OCA, or
OYC.
OIC, yeah. And I just want to thank her for her service. She is really, well, she took that program from its infancy and took it to maturity now, and I want to thank her for doing an excellent job.
Yeah, noted for sure.
Mhm.
All right, we'll probably, we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get there. Any other board comments for right now? All right, staff comments. Exciting things from
Just
staff?
upcoming meetings
All right.
scheduled.
So let me go through these, and if anyone has anything to add afterward, we have time. Okay, so September 16th, 2019, at our regular board meeting, we have the J.C. Park West fundraising kickoff. Tuesday, September 17th, we have a 10 a.m. annual TIF meeting. 25th, we have a joint meeting with the towns, and that's on a Wednesday
At 6:30.
at 6:30, so make sure that's on our calendars. And then budget season starts. So make sure all of these are on your calendars. These usually start at 5 o'clock
Mhm.
with food.
4:30 with food.
4:30
Meeting
with
starts at
food.
5.
Yeah.
Yep.
And 2.5, 3 hours per meeting. So, bring snacks. And so those are on October 7th. We have a regular board meeting and the first budget meeting, October 14th, second budget meeting, October 16th, third budget meeting, and then the 21st, is that the public hearing? Or is that?
That's just a board
Just a
meeting.
regular board
The-
meeting.
The hearing's in November.
Okay. All right. And I'd encourage anyone from the public to attend those meetings. It's a great way to learn how your tax dollars are spent. It's very informative. All right, so item 8, we have communication with miscellaneous business. We have discussion and possible action regarding resolution 1927, requesting exemption from the county library tax. So we have a recommended motion to approve the resolution requesting the exemption. Someone to make that, to get that on the floor?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, do we want to know, anyone want to tell us a little bit about this?
Jennifer, want to?
Yeah, this
Oh,
is
yeah,
just,
sorry.
this is an annual resolution, and basically what it does is it ensures our taxpayers aren't paying library service twice. The second sheet has a minimum threshold, and as long as our village is funding the Oregon Public Library above that threshold, they can exempt from the county library tax. And so basically, we're saying we're meeting that threshold, and that way we're not subject to paying the county tax in addition to that amount we're already contributing to the Oregon Public Library. Does that make sense? The third whereas in the resolution explains how it's calculated. But it does need to be approved each year. You're basically saying when we approve the budget, we're going to meet this threshold to be able to exempt from the county tax.
All right. Thank you. Any questions? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, then next we have the library buzz for September 2019. There's a lot going on.
And I just want to highlight one thing that didn't make the library buzz, and I have a poster if anybody wants one afterwards. We are holding a public presentation of the new library plans open to the public on Tuesday, September 24th at the Village Hall Community Room. It starts at 5:30 for anybody who wants to see the formal presentation, which will be about 30 minutes. And then anybody who wants to just pop in and see the plans and not listen to the whole speech can show up between 6 and 7. We'll have the plans on display. We'll have people from our building committee there so people can give feedback or ask questions about the library project. Just want to make sure you're aware of that opportunity coming up for community members. We have our plans are posted on display in the library, and they're also on our website. We also have a feedback form in the library and on the website on the first page of the Library Buzz, where people can say, we like this about the new library plans, we don't like this, have you thought about that? And really just make sure we continue that feedback while we're doing our fundraising.
Excellent, sounds good. Yes, Jerry?
Hey, Jennifer, is the rendering that we have on the screen there, is that what is being proposed?
Yes, that's the one that was presented at the joint meeting on the 19th. Yeah.
Thank you.
There's different images from different views. So there's an image from Johnson Street. That particular one's the Main Street view. So the image looks a little different depending on which view you're looking at.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Item 8C, we have the League of Wisconsin Municipalities Mass Violent Litter Call for Action. This is in our packets, so sent to all the league's mayors, village presidents, managers, administrations, and clerks, asking us to add our voice to the call for leadership on mass violence. And I'm pretty sure I signed this.
You did.
So I hope that was okay. I'm not sure anyone would be against mass violence, so I went ahead and signed that. All right, okay with everyone?
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you very much, but that's more information in the packet about what that is about. If anyone in the public has questions, that's in our packet. Item 8D, we have a discussion of possible action regarding confirming the hiring of 2 substitutes at the senior center. So we have a recommended motion to approve hiring Linda Clark and Joanne Dockenbach as substitutes at the senior center. Someone want to make that motion? So Randy, in second?
I'll second.
All right. Rachel, anything to add?
No, just as the memo points out, there are a couple of positions at the senior center that when staff has to be away, either ill or in training or on vacation, we need to replace them. We can't not have someone working in our kitchen when meals need to be done. Similarly, our adult day program needs to be staffed all the time. So we have a couple of people who are willing to wait for the call, come in when we need them, and they both pass their background checks, and we think they'll be real good additions to the staff. So, anybody have any questions on that?
All right. We thank Linda and Joanne for being interested and willing to serve.
Yes, we appreciate that very much.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
All right, item E, we have a staff update regarding the development of parks. I'll read these and then I'll let Mike tell us more. So we have 3 bullet points here. We are very busy. First of all, we're regarding completing the J.C. Park West project. Staff will recommend borrowing an additional $2.5 million to complete the project and enter into a possible venture with local developers that would offset some of the additional debt service. At some point, the village board will be asked to act on the park board's motion, which recommended amending resolution number 1809. Second, developing Westside Park, beginning conceptual planning for playing fields and completing the purchase of that school property no later than December 2020. And third, constructing Highlands of Netherwood Park, borrowing additional funding to construct that park in 2020. So Mike, you want to give us more information?
Yeah, so the first bullet point regarding J.C. Park West, we're going to propose that we do the project as one project and borrow some additional money to complete that, with the goal still raising $500,000 by the organizations. And we have been talking to some local business owners who may have something to do with helping build the concession building, and which would then help offset some of the debt service. And we're still working that out with them, and we'll bring that forward when that's ready to be presented publicly. And so I'm not asking for the board to take any action on any of this tonight. And I'll be talking to the park board about these 3 items Wednesday night as well. And then I anticipate we always have a joint public or a budget meeting in October with the park board, and we'll talk about these items as well in detail. The Westside Park, I just think we should start some conceptual planning for the park. We did a plan back in 2016, I think, which needs to be updated, and hopefully we can then complete the purchase of the park property from the school next year at some point. And then at the October park board meeting, someone from Rutler who would help design the Highlands Underwood Park will be here to present the final conceptual plan to the park board, and then I would like to proceed with building that next year. obviously with the board's approval and the park board's approval. That's kind of an update on the parks.
All right.
And then next, as we mentioned, next Monday, we'll have the fundraising kickoff for J.C. Park West, so.
Yeah, go- Randy.
Jeannie, there might be a couple folks, if you allow
Sure.
to speak, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah,
Not
is there folks out here that want to talk on this agenda item?
Right?
Yeah, come on up. If you please. Yeah, and so all we just ask is if you just tell us your name and your address.
Angela Zick, 6307 Quill Court.
Okay,
Jerome Klein, 650 Heidi Way in Oregon.
okay,
Dave Jameson, 255 Walnut Street.
okay.
Just real quick, as a active parent of 3 that play ball in Oregon and an active member of Oregon Youth Softball's board, we just wanted to share that the sense of renewed energy a little bit with the continuation and moving forward with J.C. Park West. I think that, you know, the borrowing the additional funds and doing the project in whole makes our goal feel a lot more attainable as well. So I think there's a renewed energy for that, and we're excited about it. And listening to all the other topics that are discussed here, there's just an underlying theme of all that's needed due to growth, and this is just another part of it too. I will say I'm this burnt because I spent 2 days at a beautiful complex in Janesville at her softball tournament this weekend, and enjoyed many parts of Janesville for 2 full days, restaurants, stores, and we would love to be able to do that here in Oregon for many tournaments as well. So
Good, all right, thank you.
And as one of the groups, there's several clubs that are involved. We've been meeting, talking about fundraising. We had a really positive meeting last week where we're committed as a group of, I think there's 6 or 7 different clubs that represent from youth sports all the way up to some senior level type sports. And we're committed to doing the fundraising portion as a club, working together to accomplish that in coordination with the village's support. So the additional borrowing that the village would commit to would really help us in that fundraising effort. So we're really excited about the positive momentum that's building in that endeavor.
Excellent, thank you. Any further comments?
I'm not going to add much more than what they're basically
Okay.
saying, but
Please.
the borrowing of the difference in this now, actually, I think from all the youth groups and beyond, I think there's a light now. I think this
Okay.
can get done if this happens. Truly, I'm not sure it would the other way. I've been part of one back home where I'm from, and it's a lot. So this would be a huge advantage to probably get this done.
Good. Well, thank you very much for your comments. We appreciate you being here and being engaged in the community and being willing to partner with the village to make this happen.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. Any questions for these folks? Okay, nope.
Mike, have we borrowed any of these funds yet?
We borrowed some for J.C. Park West, $1 million.
We've already borrowed the
Yeah.
mill? Okay.
But we may actually, we may actually move some of the, basically you borrow the money for park improvements, so we may move some of that money around next year, like for example, Highlands and another way. But we have not borrowed, obviously, the additional money
Okay.
at this point.
Have we purchased that other parcel that you referred to earlier?
From the school?
Yeah.
No, not at this point.
Is there an agreement to do that?
The board authorized me to send a letter to Dr. Bussa,
Mhm.
which I did, so the school board is discussing it, Jerry.
Okay, so that's still
It's still,
coming.
and that's what I'm saying, I'm hoping that we can complete that no later than December of 2020, which, per the agreement we have with them, if there isn't a school built on there, they have to give us the ability to buy it back.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Last question. In doing this project, the whole project,
Mhm.
I guess it's $1.5 million. Will that cause us?
No, it's, I mean, for the village?
Yeah.
It'd be, altogether it'd be 3.5.
3.5?
Yeah.
Will that cause us to be unable to do any of our other projects that we?
I don't believe so. So I think that the board's gonna be, you'll see a proposal, like I said, from a couple of business people that could help offset some of the debt service for this actual project.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's still, this is just an initial discussion we're having. Like I said, I still have to talk to the park board about this, come back to a joint meeting and talk some more, but no, I feel comfortable. I will tell you, Lisa and I have talked about this for 2 or 3 months before I got comfortable with it, so I'm comfortable
Right,
presenting
and
this.
this isn't new information to me either. It's just that we talk about so many
Yeah,
different things.
yep.
Is this part of our capital plan?
The extra money is not. We'd have to amend our CIP.
So
We-
when we hit the budget, that'll be in
Yeah.
the new capital
So we
plan.
would, so let's say the park board and the village board agrees to do this, Jerry, then we would put it into the 2020 budget, and then when we adjust the CIP next year, well, we'd have to do that. We'd have to increase that for
Right.
J.C. Park West.
Yeah, I just want the public to understand that we don't just willy-nilly borrow money. We have a plan that
We
we
have a plan,
follow.
yeah.
And we're very structured in our borrowing.
And one of the items that Lisa and I talked about internally is that, you know, except for excluding the bike trail, which you spent some money on, we really haven't spent a lot of village money on doing new parks. We've spent developers' money and stewardship money and things like that, but we really haven't spent, and I think we're, as we become a mid-sized community, we have to really start upgrading our parks. And I've been making the point, Jerry, that the reason I want to do this Highlands and Underwood Park next year is I want to sort of use that as the prototype of what I think our future park should be. We're going to put a playing field in that's well drained. We're going to put adequate parking in, and I hope that's what we're going to try to build in the future, that type of park.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is the fundraising for the project going to continue and possibly be used to pay back taxpayers if we borrow money to get the project going, to make sure we have it, like?
We would need the
Or-
money to complete the project. But we wouldn't be using fundraising money to pay debt service. It would actually be, it would fill in the last $500,000 for the project. We would
The-
borrow, the project is $4 million.
Okay,
We
total.
would borrow 3.5 at some point. The groups would raise $500,000 to complete the project.
Okay,
Yep.
so that's like 1/8 of the cost? Okay.
Yep.
I have to say, I would be more comfortable if the groups kicked in a little more. And the
Well, you're
reason.
gonna get a chance to, at some point, we have to go back and amend Resolution 1809, because obviously Corey has to make that motion out of the park board yet about pickleball, and that's why I asked him to hold off doing that while we talk about it. But at some point, we're gonna have to go back and amend that, so then the board could talk about fundraising and so forth.
Okay, so we could talk about that future then. I mean, I just look at projects like the library that have 6 million, and then we're expected to raise 4 million privately. But then, you know, you have sports fields where we're trying to do the same thing, but I'd like to make sure that those percentages are roughly equal, because I think that's only fair.
That's a policy by the
Something
board.
to think
Yep.
about.
Yep.
Yeah. Corey, did you have something?
Yes.
Yeah, Jenna.
Is it staff's intent to kind of remain consistent with the Resolution 1809 with regard to, you know, the fundraising needs to occur for the project to be able to happen, since that contribution is essentially part of what's required to construct the project?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Jenna?
As you talked about investing in our parks more, I think about maintaining our parks more. And so are we working on a plan to maintain all these, not only additional parks that we're bringing online, but the upgraded parks that we're now investing in?
Yes, I mean, and one of the things the board's talked about this the last 2 years, and we're gonna be talking about it probably again during the budget, and probably when we work on the 21 budget is, you know, creating a park and rec department. Because if we do this project, we are gonna have to have a park and rec department to oversee it, so it's gonna be impacting the levy at some point, absolutely, yep.
Thank you.
Growth.
Yep, that's part of it.
Well, thank you for putting this on the agenda, Mike.
Sure.
Just to, I think stuff like this helps keep the village board in the loop. We have so many committees and so many commissions that unless you go to all of those meetings, you're not sure what's going on. And I don't really want to go to all those meetings. and I don't think any of us do. So things like this help keep us up to date.
Yeah, and I
Just with
didn't-
even what's coming down the pike.
Yeah, and I didn't feel comfortable talking to the park board before I talked to the board, because the board is the one that has to make a decision about the borrowing. So like I said, I'll talk to them on Wednesday night about the same items.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, audience members, for being here tonight to voice your support. We appreciate that. All right. We will move on to item F. We have an email on behalf of the Jefferson Street residents regarding the Badfish Creek clearing project and the status of the project. So in our packets, we have some photos from Jeff of the project that's been going on. And I'd just like to introduce this by saying that those of us who were at that three-hour committee meeting, where the room was full of super angry residents asking us to do something, I feel like we have come so far. And if you read this email from one of those residents who was, I think, probably acting as somewhat of a spokesperson for those folks, it is very complimentary of our staff, just of village folks working with the Dane County Drainage Board, of working to solve that problem. And I want to highlight that because this doesn't always happen. We don't always get to help solve problems and always make people happy. That's not always our job, but in this case, I really want to thank staff for going above and beyond. Stormwater is a huge issue in our village, and I want the community to know that we're really trying, that we recognize it and we're trying. So Jeff, do you want to just talk about a little bit about this project and where we're at?
Sure. Well, the dredging is complete. He finished, I believe it was Friday afternoon or Thursday or Friday afternoon. Basically, it was an excavation of the dredged and sediment material that was in the bottom of the creek. You can see, I'll just walk through a few pictures here. This is looking downstream. This is the railroad trestle down here, and so this is almost near Burr Oak, and you can kind of see the cleaned area. The spoils have been deposited, and he did a very nice job of spreading those. They're going to take a little while to dry out, and then at time we'll probably be coming back and seeding with some native grasses. And it'll take a while for it to establish. You can kind of see this is standing on the bridge that used to go to Dega Park, and looking towards, this is South Burr Oak, and the new culverts that were installed a few years ago. You can see a nice open channel, and then this is further up, looking up towards, this is actually looking back down again towards South Burr Oak. I think this is the more interesting thing. So you can see the excavator here was working, and this right in the back here is actually, help me out here, the park.
Killer?
No.
The West Side Park?
The DiMaggio.
Oh,
Park.
DiMaggio Park.
DiMaggio
Oh,
Park, thank
okay.
you.
I can figure it out.
So this is DiMaggio Park. This looks actually like the main channel. This is just a sub-channel coming in. This is the area that's been cleaned. This is the actual channel right here. So, if you zoom in, you can see what the difference is of really what the Drainage Board was able to do and Curtis Excavation was able to do. I don't have any updated pictures from that yet, but I'll be going out and taking those and bringing those back. But they've done a nice job. It's excavated and cleaned all the way up to Keller Alpine Park, where that pond discharges. And the vouchers, I just processed the vouchers today, so we'll be seeing those Monday.
Comments from the board?
So
Yes?
I went and took a little walk out there. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
Much different.
Yeah.
Really nice.
So if you saw I'm looking at Corey because we walked out there. When you go out there now and look to see what Rusty did, he did an amazing job cleaning that out.
Yeah, I think, our cooperation with the drainage district enabled us to do a project for by far less than what we would have paid if we had done it ourselves.
Yeah.
Correct. And
Just-
much faster, more efficiently
Just
too.
great guys to work with, the board, and I do want to thank the board for supporting this. This is something that was a little unusual, so I think Jeff and I appreciate the board's support on it, and it was a good project.
Yes, Jerry?
Yes, so going forward, this is a nice project. It's completed, I assume.
It's done. This portion of the project is done.
It's great. Whose jurisdiction or responsibility will it be to keep it looking like this?
The Drainage District.
Okay, which, okay.
I mean, and considering what we're looking at has probably not been done in over 100 years.
Oh, I agree, yeah.
So hopefully.
No, I can't discount
Yep.
what a wonderful
Yep.
project this has been. I look to the future.
Yeah,
And, I don't want it to sit 10 years plugging up again and.
No.
and,
Actually, just so you know, that once a drainage district's done a project like this, there's an annual inspection that occurs, and you'll be seeing an agreement that the drainage board has prepared for us, that we would reimburse for the annual inspection costs.
Okay.
And so you'll be seeing that come across. It's nominal, but there is an annual report that has to be turned in. It's nothing terribly fancy, but it's exactly what you're talking about, is making sure that we maintain and that we're not falling into the same problem we had before.
So whose financial responsibility will it be to maintain it going forward?
Well.
Can I take that one, Jeff?
Yes, please.
I don't like the way this is starting to roll.
No. It's, so, because of the cooperation between the village board and the drainage board, the costs of this project were paid by the village as an alternative to going through the much more time-consuming process of the drainage board, going out and figuring out who all the various property owners are who are benefited by the work, and developing kind of a special assessment process, essentially. So we were able to avoid that here by the village paying for this. The next step that's been discussed in terms of addressing the future expenses, there's only 2 expenses that we know about that are now recurring, unless there's another project that is done in the future. One is, as Jeff said, the annual inspection. And I think at one of our meetings with the drainage board folks, they indicated that might just be Jeff
Correct.
going out and reporting to them on what he thinks the condition of the channel is, so there wouldn't be any cost there. The other cost that I think they're gonna ask the village to pay, so they don't have to go through a process of assessing all the residents, is all of the various drains that they have jurisdiction over contribute on a proportionate basis to the cost of their annual meeting. They have an annual meeting, and they have to give notice of that, and there are some administrative and publication and other costs associated with that. And I think they're going to ask the village if the village would be willing to contribute this drain's share of the cost of that meeting. It sounds like it's a fairly small amount of money, that we're probably talking about $2,000 a year, I think is
Or
my.
less, yeah.
Or less. And I think they're gonna ask the village board, are you willing to pay that or not? And that's the other expense that we're aware of. If 10, 15, 20 years from now, there's a need to do another project, I guess we'll probably have another conversation about how is that gonna be paid for.
Correct.
This board has not signed up to pay for anything other than what I've just described. And you actually haven't even agreed yet to pay for that annual meeting expense.
So have we incurred any liability by doing this? No.
No. Not any liability. And
No, I mean, for future expense?
No.
No.
You have not. You can decide whether to pay for it or not if there's a future expense.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And hopefully this is my last question. Again, this is a great project. I think it's going to do wonders. I hope it accomplishes what the residents claim it will accomplish and dry out their yards and return things back to normal. Having said that, if it does that, are we going to be more involved in keeping things away from this waterway? In other words, I remember, when we had the '06 flood, people had stacked things close to the creek. Everything went down and plugged up the main street viaduct there.
You mean like a shed?
I didn't want to bring that up in public.
It was a sign that it was back in '07 when the flood came in. There was a sign that blocked the Quick Trip culvert.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That and stacked wood.
But still, do we have any vehicle for?
We do.
Okay,
And
so
those are-
we'll be
those are
keeping things away from that waterway that may float into
To
it.
the extent that we can, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about that shed?
Great
Since you
question.
brought it up.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
It's something that we will be probably addressing.
Okay. Enough said. Thank you.
You gotta watch out with Jeff and sheds.
What do I do with sheds?
Oh,
What? Oh, yeah, I'm not selling that shed for free or anything, yes.
You'll move it.
Yeah.
All right, so we don't have any action on this item. Any further comments? All right, thank you again, staff, for making that happen. All right, so item G, discussion and possible action regarding the Foxborough Gravity Pipeline Award and funding. So we have a couple recommended motions. One of them is to do an agreement between the Village and Concord Commons condominium. And then the second one is regarding awarding the Foxborough Storm Sewer Improvement Project. Before we do those motions, Jeff, do you just want to introduce this and tell us, remind us all of where we're at?
Right, exactly. So I've pulled this up on the screen here showing, this is the Foxborough Golf Course area here. This is the condo association over here put in by Chuck Elliott. And then this is the Concord Commons condominiums over here. There has been basically through the analysis and everything, we've determined that when these were built over here, that an overland flow route was obstructed. And so what we have recommended and the village board has supported was allocating funds and completing a project that involved basically a collection box at this location and then a 15-inch diameter gravity pipeline that would connect to our storm sewer system that would run in an existing drainage easement along the backs of these condominiums. Benefiting also these condominiums by allowing connections for the for future sump drain connections. So if residents that live in these condominiums wish to have an underground connection that they could be able to dump to year-round, provide them with that. And then as a cost sharing, because these, the Foxborough Golf, or let's see, help me out with this, the condo association over here.
Concord Commons.
Concord.
No, not Concord Commons, that was almost a slip up there.
oh, you know.
The Villages of Foxborough, thank you. We're planning a parallel pipeline along this area that would help drain some of their problems they're having with groundwater and everything along here. We contacted them early on and said, if you were to tap into our pipeline and do some cost sharing, it would save them considerably amount of money and would help offset some of our costs for the village. And so that's what we see tonight. Basically, they've committed to a cost-sharing proposal of about $21,000, 30% up to $21,000. With the village's board's approval, we went out to our engineers and had them prepare a bid package for this. This has to be publicly bid, and because we knew the cost would be in excess of $25,000. We did receive 3 bids back, and you see that information in your packets. We had bids ranging from $83,972 up to, I believe it was $152,001. So quite a range, but I think we have a good bid. Our engineers are confident in that, and it was close to what they thought the cost would be. So what we're asking for tonight is basically to allow the village attorney to go ahead and prepare an agreement with the Villages of Foxborough Condominium Association for basically a legal document that allows them to tie into that and also reimburse the village. And then secondly, an award of the contract to G-Pro Excavating for the amount of $83,972.27 for the contract. And that plan for that contract construction would begin in September. It'd probably be September or early October, and be about a week and a half construction window.
All right. Yes, public comment. If you want to come up to the desk and tell us your name and your address.
My name is John Norwell. I live at 674 Heidi Way, Oregon, Wisconsin. And I was here and spoke to this issue back in May. And I'm just a little upset because it took so long to get to this point, but I think you're doing the right thing. I'm glad to applaud your efforts, especially on the other drainage district as well. But you have the same problem in the foreseeable future as you go east, especially as you go across 138. The Foxborough Golf Course is not only affected by the drainage here, but on the area that goes across the future extension of Highway 14 to the south. That property was bought in 1966, and the DOT has done little or nothing to it. And as a result, there's blockages in that way, and that's not in Village of Oregon property right now, from what I understand. But it'll affect your stuff down on 138, because all that water that comes off the golf course in that area adjacent to the property you already have goes across Highway 14 and into the area where the new cheese store is, okay? Some of the wetlands were just recently filled in that area too by the town. So the issues that you need to do is to keep active with the drainage boards. They'll help you greatly. I worked for the county for 25 years as a highway commissioner, assistant commissioner. I was a public works director over at Monona for about 6 years. I also was in private practice for about 6 years. And I can just tell you, it's important to think about the neighbors and how everything affects, because there's still no person lands, even on the area around the Foxborough Golf Course over on this side. It's still in the township, okay? There's lands along Highway 14 where the water goes across from the new hotel area eventually and goes towards the north and west across 14 that has never been cleaned out, trimmed out, or anything in years. And your ordinances, all other ordinances having to do with drainage ponds and stuff like that, it says they're supposed to be inspected and maintained. And what has happened through the years, and I worked throughout Dane County and all the municipalities, usually the first, most work is done at the original construction. Stuff settles, banks go down, you don't have the capacity you have, things drain in and out of there for years, lands are not mowed or trimmed around the edges like you see in the property that you saw on your slides before. It just doesn't go away. And you're affecting people, and not only in the Foxborough Golf Course, but all those people that bought property in there. In addition, that property was developed, it was inspected by you had plans to look at by whoever does your inspection work, and guess what? The property is 2.5 feet above the land it was supposed to drain. So there's a whole bunch of things that need to be addressed. I'd be willing to help in any way I can, and I really applaud what you're doing. But you're just at the start of this. And in fact, the major drainage area that you have that goes to this whole area through here, which is up in the Bergamot area, you don't even have control of the facilities draining out of there. Bergamot is in control of those units. So, and I would hope everybody take a walk behind HQ, okay? There is the worst pit you ever saw in your life behind there. It's full of crap, junk, wrappers, everything back in there. I don't think that pond has been touched since HQ was built. In fact, there was stuff back along the HQ property which is intended to hold back silt being washed away. It was in there until a month ago. Somebody must have taken that out of there since then. But not only is it important to maintain things, but to realize you have to maintain things and not let things go. This affects a lot of people. There's people in here that had damages in their basements in the Foxborough area there because their sump pumps ran continually and finally they burned out. They should have had maybe a battery backup or something like that, but I know people that were in brand new units approved by this village, and a year later those sump pumps go 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And guess what? That costs money too. And then all those foundations leak, and eventually some of that stuff gets down a drain, and it goes through your sewer system, and you're paying for processing that too as well. And there are basements all over being in real estate after I retired from the county. I can tell you, there are basements in this area here that take clear water and distribute it right down the drain every day, and you're processing that water every day. And that shouldn't happen. So there's a lot of work to be done, And I'll be in here during the budget process, and I can tell you, I'll be pushing for not only money for the facilities that you want to add in this community, but you need to start putting some money in the infrastructure. Your roads are terrible. Your storm sewer system is totally inadequate. There's very little of it, which is part of the problem, and it needs to be maintained and taken care of. And I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you for letting my wife know at the last minute I was doing something else, but I would appreciate coming over here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your comments, sir. We appreciate this. All right, so questions for staff? Yes, Corey?
Jeff, the recommended motion includes authorizing the village attorney to have a formal agreement with the village and Concord Commons. In our packet, it indicates that it's the villages of Foxborough.
No, it should be the Concord Commons. Is what it should be, under, between Village and Concord Commons Association. That's right, in the packet. In the motion?
That's what's in the motion, but in the packet, there's a letter from Condo Management Associates that says the villages of Foxborough is interested in partnering with the village to install a gravity pipeline.
Oh, no, wait, you know what? You're right, it should be Villages of Foxborough, that is correct. Thank you.
All right, so the agreement's going to be between the village and the villages of Foxborough?
Correct.
Okay.
And then is Concord Commons Condo Association interested in tying into that sewer as well?
Their individual units will have at their option. They'll have stubs to be able to provide, to tie in personally to each one, if they would like.
I mean, to me, it doesn't seem too equitable if one association is paying for the ability to tie into that and then the other one can just do it for free. I don't know, I know the purpose of this is to help residents, but it just, to be fair, it seems like that kind of creates a discrepancy.
Could I just ask a question?
Yes.
So my understanding, Jeff, is the history of this, and one reason maybe that's the way it's set up is that it's the villages of Foxborough that was planning on putting their own pipe in?
Correct.
And so that was why the conversation unfolded between the village and villages of Foxborough, because they were thinking about putting their own pipe in. And so that led to a discussion with them about, well, we're going to put a pipe in, would you like to help pay for that?
Okay.
So I
And
think that's the historical
Right, we're not
reason why
charging
that's,
yeah.
why that's been the discussion.
And also, I guess, was it the Foxborough, Villages of Foxborough development that kind of essentially somewhat created this issue as well?
That could be debated, but yes.
It's that, because then, to me, it seems more fair that they contribute to fixing the problem if
I mean,
they.
that's the area where the overland flow
Route was.
route was, correct.
Okay, thank you.
So are you suggesting changes, or are you good with it then?
I'm good with it, I guess, with the exception of just changing it to the Villages of Foxborough.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments or questions? All right, then I would entertain a motion to authorize the village attorney to prepare a formal agreement between the village and the Villages of Foxborough Association, providing for a reimbursement to the village by that association for 30% of the gravity pipeline construction cost up to $21,000.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, and then our recommended motion number 2 is a motion to award the Foxborough Storm Sewer Improvement Project to G Pro Excavating LLC of Monfort, Wisconsin, in the amount of $83,972.27.
I'll make that motion.
Oh, I have a, well,
you
I'll
want to second
second
it
it.
for discussion?
Yeah, for discussion.
Yes, and then question?
Jeff, there's kind of a big discrepancy in the bids here. Any idea what that's about? Are you comfortable going with G Pro at that lower price?
Yes, yeah. I mean, this is not a difficult project. What we find right now in the bidding market is some companies are putting very high numbers out there just in case, someone else doesn't bid on it. They might get the project for that. you know, our engineers have reviewed the unit cost, they reviewed it with their cost estimate, their engineer's cost estimate for what it was, and even the 83,972 was a little high above their estimate as well, so I'm confident they can do it for that.
Okay. Yeah, Jerry?
Yes, is Fund 414, is that the stormwater fund?
No, that's the,
Capital fund.
yeah, capital fund. And
It's a general capital fund, Jerry.
So that's where the funds, these funds are coming from?
Correct.
Okay.
Corey?
I just wanted to say, I looked at the unit costs that G-Pro had provided for all of the various storm sewers and all the appurtenances, and it all seems very reasonable to me. I'm not alarmed that it's way under bid. I think it's a decent bid.
Yeah.
All right, so then we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we are on item, thank you everyone for coming. We're on item 8H. This is an FYI only. TDS has added video 5% franchise fee to customers' bills, which is exactly the same amount charged paid by Charter Spectrum customers. And I would just like to add that thank you to Oregon Community Access Media for always televising our meetings on Spectrum Cable Channel 983. And now we are also available on TDS Cable Channel 1019. So multiple ways to watch the excitement of the village board meetings.
I may try to get TDS to change, they call this fee Oregon Video Service Fee. I'm gonna try to get them to change it to a franchise fee like Charter so that people understand
So
it.
people, oh, on the people's bills?
People's bills, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see if they can do it in the future.
Okay. All right, item I, status of Lincoln Road Agreement. We have a note in our packet that the Oregon Town Board has approved the resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement. That's exciting,
So
right?
now, yep, so now we have to approve the ordinance and then we're done. So I'm gonna put that on next Monday's agenda.
Marching forward.
Yep.
So just for the public, this is so that we can all fix Lincoln Road.
Correct. The village and the town.
It's
Yep.
very exciting.
It's
Yeah.
also so there can be just, instead of 3 sections of road owned by 3 different owners, it'll be 2 owners, and they'll own.
Yeah, it'll clear up the
distinct-
boundary.
It's a boundary agreement, yeah.
Yes.
And we'll do the project at one time, so the village will do it and the town will do it at the same time when we fix Lincoln Road.
Very good.
Yeah.
This is a good thing. All right, marching forward on that. Item J, we have discussion and possible action regarding wastewater treatment plant building 20-door replacement. We have a recommended motion to approve the contract with La Force for the door replacement at building number 20. This is the pre-treatment building, and the cost is $6,198. A motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those
Yes.
in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, item K, we have a discussion and possible action regarding 2019 planned pump replacements for our wastewater treatment plant. We have a recommended motion to approve the pump procurement and installation contracts with Flight for an influent pumping station pump in the amount of $16,481.30, with L.W. Allen for a Fairbanks RAS pump in the amount of $11,112, and with William Reed for a Vaughn Sludge mixing pump in the amount of $12,700. Funding will be from the wastewater treatment plant equipment replacement fund. Someone want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Sure. Any discussion? That's very detailed. I think we're probably okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, item L, we have a review of information regarding historic high groundwater.
Oh, it's a shame some people didn't stay to listen to this part.
They're watching.
They're watching on TV.
They're watching it.
All right, so I'm scrolling.
Yeah.
So many memos from Jeff.
This is not a memo, but this actually came out of, part of this came out of,
Joe
I think
Parisi.
there's an email from Joe
This came from
Parisi's
Joe
office,
Parisi and then
Oh,
there's
yeah.
an article in the Capital Times, and it's kind of what we've been talking about for a very long time now, is you know, we're dealing with a secondary flood, which is,
Mhm.
I think they call it in here, the flood from below.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's very interesting, you know, that people see, what is easy for people to see when water's flowing across the ground and going into people's front doors, that's very easy to see. But, you know, even Mr. Norwell was able to comment, the way these houses that are built and their pumps are running, 100% of the time. And that's not the village's fault that happens. But, you know, it is something that is occurring, and so we're sympathetic to that, but it's not something much we can do about it. And like this article says, you know, the majority of Dane County was built on wetland or lowland areas. So it doesn't take much of an increase in groundwater to really cause a major problem. I think the most impressive part of this is a graph that was included also in the email from Joe Parisi's office. And I think what's interesting is when you look at this annual precipitation trend from 1930 to basically 2018, you can see a continual increase. I mean, we're talking over, well, about 90 years, you know, almost 90 years of a continual increase, and that's, you know, statistically you can see it's statistically occurring here of an increase. When you look at that and you look at, okay, the groundwater trends, now Middleton is obviously a huge spike, and that's mostly because of what happened over the Cross Plains area. But then if you just look at Madison in general, and you see from 1980 to 2019, and you see the pattern in the groundwater, it's not surprising for it to be rising anywhere from, you know, almost 19 feet to 14 feet. You know, a 5-foot increase in groundwater table over that time period is significant, because that's what we're seeing. We're seeing it intercept, we're seeing new springs develop, we're seeing it intercept people's basements where it didn't before. So it's just it's confirming to what we've been talking about for a while, but it's also nice when you hear it from other sources.
I mentioned to Jeff that I rode the bike trail yesterday, and this is probably the least amount of water coming out of Lake Barney that I saw yesterday. It is barely not even coming out, so it's been, the whole summer been coming out till the last couple of days, so.
Which means one thing. It's gonna rain.
It's gonna rain. That's true. I shouldn't, I just
Yep,
jinxed it.
thanks, Mike.
Yeah, you're right, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Call my cat.
What, another thing that I thought was as a former farm girl, to see that 1 out of every 10 acres went unplanted in Dane
Oh,
County.
yeah.
That is such a huge loss to farmers. That's unbelievable. I don't remember that happening in
And
my
you see
memory.
it, you see it if you drive on any highway or
Yeah.
even in the back
Fish
roads.
hatchery.
You go anywhere and you see these areas that are unplanted and just going to weeds because they're really untillable and unfarmable.
Yeah. So in town, we have water creeping into our basements, and farmers are not being able to plant
Correct.
lands. And this appears to be the new normal. So I'm glad that when you were talking about building the new parks, you know, the new normal is
Mhm.
creating stormwater.
Yep, better drainage
Yeah.
for fields, yep,
Yep.
yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so thank you for the information.
Welcome.
Item M, let's see, Jerry alluded to earlier, we had an email from Oregon Youth Center Director Diane Newland resigning her position. She's been there 9 years, so we want to very much thank her for all of the work that she's done there and the growth that she has managed there. And we wish her well with her new opportunities. She will be missed, yes.
Do we know, are they gonna hire somebody else? I don't know, maybe Randy knows this.
I think
Do you
she's
know
she's
what's-
leaving, 12th, so I think they're starting to get a game plan together, the board. for-
Okay,
for
okay,
looking for
nothing
a-
yet, but they're.
Not that I've
okay,
heard of.
Okay.
Yeah, so the board of directors for the youth center will
Mhm.
manage that.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, item N is an FYI, County M resurfacing project in September and October. Because we didn't already have enough road construction.
This is really needed, but this is a big deal. for
Yeah.
People that, this is gonna be a major inconvenience for some
Yeah.
people,
So this-
including our clerk.
This will be from.
Yeah, how are you gonna get here, Peggy?
Every week I traveled to Madison or
Yeah.
it was under construction.
Yeah. So make sure residents know this, because a lot of us commute, we go to work this way.
It needs,
yeah.
it needs it, it's in bad shape.
Yes, yes, if
Right.
you've driven that road lately, it needs
Bad
it.
shape, yeah. You know
So,
what, maybe we'll put
2
this-
months of pain.
We'll put this on the webpage, maybe, I'll just.
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
should have
Randy,
Peggy.
oh, did you have something, Randy?
No,
or
I
me?
didn't, no.
All right. So we will all commiserate together with that. Item O, we have a discussion and possible action regarding Police Officer Tanner Pierce is resigning from the Police Department. And we have a recommended motion to authorize the hiring process to fill that vacant police officer position. Chief, do you want to give us an update on that? Or anything further than what's
Yeah,
in the packet?
we've started putting together the timeline and ready to go. Tanner just, he's been with us simply 2 years now. He decided to leave law enforcement altogether, and he worked in private industry and logistics, and he's doing that back in Indianapolis is where he's going. He just said that law enforcement wasn't for him. He didn't like taking it home every day and every night to his family, and decided he wanted to get out, which is unfortunately a common story we're hearing throughout law enforcement. So.
All right, so we need a motion then to authorize the hiring process to fill that vacant officer position.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Didn't you already start?
Thank you.
Did this go out on Facebook today already?
Today, yeah.
Before the board approves it?
I got pre-approved.
Quiet, Jeff.
I gave him I figured you'd do it, so we wanted to get going on it. Thank you, Jeff, for bringing that up.
You're gonna throw Mike under the bus?
No.
Now we know how the
Catch
shed
so much
line
grief for trying to sell a shed.
Like Jeff, you never done this before, have you?
You know, but A for effort, Jeff.
A for
Trying to
yes,
like
exactly, that's right.
throw him under the bus.
Chief, don't forget about payback now.
He's got a taser.
He's well aware.
All right, we are on to the exciting portion of the meeting with report of committees. So I'm up first. This is from the September 5th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting. First is the discussion and possible action regarding the preliminary plat for the 6th addition to Mary Hill. At the Planning Commission level, Meyer moved, seconded by Marr, to recommend to the village board the preliminary plat for the 6th addition to Mary Hill contingent upon meeting the recommendations in the Rupert-Milky letter dated August 28th. Also contingent upon locating an outlot for the USPS mailboxes per USPS requirements. That motion was unanimous. So now I need a motion from the village board level to approve that. To approve the preliminary plat for the 6th addition to Mary Hill.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Anyone, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Piggybacking on that, we had discussion of possible action regarding the final plat for the 6th addition to Mary Hill. Bano moved, seconded by Mozon, to recommend to the village board the final plat for the 6th edition contingent upon the following. The comments noted in Rupert-Milky letter dated August 28th, that the final location of the mailbox be approved by staff, and that the preliminary plat meets all the requirements. So I'm looking for a motion to approve that.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Third, discussion and possible action regarding a conditional use permit application submitted on behalf of Supreme Structures to allow for a group daycare center in the planned business zoning district on the property located at 870 Oregon Center Drive. Bano moved, seconded by Mozon, to approve the Journey Above Child Care Center at 870 Oregon Center Drive site plan. It was contingent upon using the example fence as shown in the handout, and contingent upon the garbage enclosure being constructed using cedar stained to match the building. That motion was unanimous, so I need a similar motion at this level.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion or questions on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And then in our packets, we have the site plan for the Journey Above Child Care at 870 Oregon Center Drive. You can see it's going to be a very attractive looking building and much needed for the village. So we have some minutes not requiring action. The Fire EMS Commission met on August 1st, 2019. That's in our packets. We have no unfinished business. Under new business, we have Approval of pending new operator licenses. These have been recommended by the police department for approval. We have the Legend at Bergamot, Jotika A. Dietrich, and Quick Trip number 302, Rebecca R. Lust. Does someone want to make a motion to approve those?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have no other new business. We have a bunch of future agenda items. All right, and then if no one objects, we are going to go into closed session. So the village board will adjourn into closed session during the meeting pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 1985, parent 1C, to consider employment and compensation for candidate for the director of planning and zoning administrator position, and pursuant to Wisconsin State Statutes 1985, parent 1E, to discuss the possible terms of the 2019 School Resource Officer Agreement between the Oregon School District and the Village of Oregon. And we will adjourn from closed session. So does someone want to make a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make that motion.
Randy, are you seconding it?
Sure.
Sorry. We have a roll call, please.
I didn't hear.
Horton,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Lish,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Bollig,
Yes.
Carpenter.
Yes. All right, so we will go into closed session and adjourn from there. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, viewers.